adult Harry Potter got a couple of guns screwed to his hands, and now he can't even go to the toilet. This is the recap of Guns Akimbo, and you'll find it both scary and funny at the same time. An underground fighting game club called Skims is gaining popularity in the world. It involves players fighting for prestige and money. They hunt each other for that purpose. The loser dies, and not in a game, but in real life. One of the participants of Skims is an attractive but very cruel girl named Nyx. She is so tough that no opponent has ever been able to defeat her. We witness a frantic race with a gunfight, as a result of which Nyx sends another unlucky player to the afterlife. Thousands of viewers watch their duel live and scream with delight, but there are also ordinary, not so special people in the world. For example, a guy named Miles. After a boring job, he spends time on social networks, plays computer games and drinks. This guy recalls that as a child he dreamed of becoming a superhero, but became nobody. At work, he doesn't get along well with his boss and his colleagues. However, Miles has one strange hobby. He is a brilliant internet troll. After work, he takes his laptop and writes caustic comments below the videos of Skims. The protagonist hates this game because it makes people turn into beasts for fame and money. One such evening, after drinking several bottles of beer, Miles writes too many nasty things about Skims and quarrels with the admin of the game. In return, the guy is threatened to be found and punished for his rudeness. Miles laughs at such threats, but then he receives the number of his IP and closes his laptop in horror. A short time later, someone knocks on his door. Several dangerous-looking thugs stand on his doorstep. They kick down the door, break Miles's laptop, knock out the guy himself and take him to an unknown place. The protagonist comes to his senses in some kind of a basement. One of the thugs beside him starts an electric drill and knocks Miles out again. The next time, the guy opens his eyes in his own apartment. He looks at his hands and discovers that there are real pistols with ammunition counters screwed to them. Miles screams, curses and tries to use his cell phone, but it's not so easy. He finds out that he has to fight a legendary player named Nyx. If he refuses or contacts the police, he will be terminated. At the same time, Nyx herself eliminates the regular unlucky players and does it without any effort. Having defeated all the opponents, she jumps out of the window a second before the police arrive. Nyx receives a message with the name of her new opponent, and it's Miles. Disguised, the girl sneaks into the police station and finds a file on our protagonist. Meanwhile, Miles desperately wants to get to the restroom, but taking off his pants with guns instead of hands is too dangerous. One awkward move and he may lose a crucial organ. Fortunately, the process goes well. The only problem is to put on his pants after that. Miles decides to walk around with them for now. He struggles to open the front door and meets Nyx in the hallway. The girl is armed and very dangerous. Miles hides from dozens of bullets behind a table or a couch. He tries to explain to the girl that he's actually just a regular guy and doesn't want to play Skims. But Nyx doesn't care at all. She has a target and she's going to do what she's done for hundreds of times before. Realizing that there's no way to reach an agreement, Miles runs away from the aggressive girl down the fire escape. Everything is filmed and shown live by a small drone. The viewers are really surprised because usually Nyx effortlessly deals with her opponents, but this unknown guy just ran away from her. Miles, wearing a bathrobe and funny slippers, wanders around the city. It is the first time in a while that he walks without a cell phone in his hands and wonders at all the colors of the surrounding world. The guy spots a couple of police officers and begs them for help. It seems to be a bad idea, considering a couple of guns nailed to his arms. The cops immediately take the weird guy at gunpoint. The viewers laugh and place their bets. Miles tries to run away from the cops, but a taser shot sends him into a knockout. The problem is that a muscle cramp causes him to make a shot and hit one of the cops in the shoulder. Miles crawls over to the wounded cop, finds out that the wound is not critical, and escapes into one of the alleys with relief. Soon, Nyx appears there too, tracking the location of her victim with the help of her phone. Miles rushes to the park where he is supposed to meet his girlfriend Nova. Without waiting for her boyfriend, she gets into the car, but Miles catches up with her and jumps into a seat next to her. Nova is shocked at the appearance of her boyfriend. Suddenly, Miles notices Nyx with a gun in her hands and begs his girlfriend to get the hell out of there as soon as possible. Nyx is furious furious that her rival has gotten away from her the second time and blows up the drone broadcasting their battle in a fit of rage. Miles tells Nova about his adventures and shows her the guns. The terrified girl grabs her pepper spray and releases a jet in his face. The protagonist falls out of the car and the screaming Nova rushes to find the police. Miles is hiding out in some rubbish. He finds a large garbage can and hides there from the omnipresent drones. The leader of Skims, named Richter, is overjoyed. Hundreds of thousands of viewers are already following this loser with guns. After a while, Miles climbs out of the trash can. He finds someone's old pants and wants to put them on. But the guns make it impossible for the guy to do anything. The main character is so desperate that he is even ready to kill himself. But he is stopped by a homeless man who says that he is holding the pistols inappropriately. Then Miles asks the homeless man to help him put on the pants, and he agrees. Nova goes to the police station and tells them about her encounter with Miles. It turns out that a couple of cops, the Graves and Stanton, have been trying to expose Skims for a long time. The cops decide to keep the girl under 24-hour surveillance. At the same time, a homeless man finds old sneakers for Miles and helps him lace them up. The guy asks the homeless guy for some food, and the latter offers him a leftover hot dog. Miles drops the sausage to the ground, then picks it up with his pistols and bites it with pleasure. Despite all his troubles, the responsible guy hurries to work. He turns for help to his colleague programmer Hadley. He scans Miles's phone and finds a virus there, which sends the protagonist's location. Hadley fixes the phone and the tracking can be turned off and on at will. Miles's boss spots them during this occupation, scolds the guy for being late, humiliates him, and threatens to fire him. Losing control of himself, the protagonist pulls his hands with guns out of his pockets and points them at the boss, reminding him of each offensive word. While Miles is screaming, someone fires a bullet at the boss. Obviously, it's Nix who continues to hunt for the main character. Once again, the gunfight begins. The guy hides under his colleagues' desks, takes the phone, and asks Hadley to cover him, and a brave co-worker does so. Taking advantage of the moment, Miles descends to an underground garage and steals someone's car, barely managing to control it. Seeing this, Nick steals someone's bike and chases the guy all over the city, shooting another dozen or maybe even hundreds of bullets in his direction. At one point, she even manages to jump onto Miles's car and smash the windshield. Unable to see the road, Miles crashes into an oncoming car and takes an epic flight through the windshield. The guy is alive, but Nix is also determined to continue the fight. The protagonist hobbles to an abandoned building, and the furious girl continues her hunt. Miles asks her to calm down, and Nix admits that after his elimination, Skims will help her solve all her problems with the police. Then, Miles starts shooting back, but all the bullets hit anywhere but Nix. At some point, one of his bullets hits the gas tanks, causing a huge explosion. Nix freezes for a second. She flashes back to the accident that killed her mother and brother and shakes with fear. Taking advantage of her hysteria, Miles runs out of the building. He wanders around the night city and wants to stop a car, but not a single driver is willing to take a passenger with guns in his hands. Out of desperation, Miles calls Nova and she asks him to go to the police right away. Instead, the guy wants to leave the city. During the video call, Richter appears in Nova's apartment and kidnaps the girl. The leader of Skims demands the guy to fight Nix. Otherwise, something regrettable will happen to Nova. Miles comes up with a plan. He arrives in an abandoned neighborhood and turns on the tracking software on his phone. He calls the police, telling them to come and arrest Nix. Leaving his phone in one of the cars, the guy is about to leave. But things don't go according to plan. This is a place where two gangs are having a showdown. They are not pleased with the unexpected witness and point guns at Miles. The protagonist gets on his knees and prepares for the worst, but he is suddenly saved by Nix with a machine gun in her hands. She sends all the bandits to the next world like a real Terminator, while Miles is running away at full speed, managing to shoot one of the gangsters. Nix can't catch up with the guy, since several police squads arrive and grab Miles. The cops are planning to use the guy as bait for Nix. Detective DeGraves tells Miles that years ago he tried to take down Skims, and Richter blew up a car with his family in return. The only survivors were the detective himself and Nix. That's right, Nix is DeGraves' daughter, which is why it's so important for the man to find her. The problem is that she doesn't know who blew up their car, and that's why she's playing Skims. At one point, DeGraves realizes that his partner has brought them to the wrong place. Stanton puts a bullet in him, pulls Miles out of the car, and shows him a video of Richter. We realize that Stanton is also working with Skims. Miles is forced to fight Nix again if he wants Nova to stay alive and unharmed. An acquainted hacker girl helps the guy find out the location of Nova's phone and tracks down her kidnappers. The girl's phone is found in a small van. The doors open. Richter shows Miles a person with a bag over his head, fires a bullet into the bag, drops him on the pavement, and drives off. Miles removes the bag in desperation, but instead of Nova, he finds Headley, his mate from work. The guy decides to end this horror once and for all. He goes to another abandoned place, turns on the tracker, and waits for Nix. He once again tries to explain everything to her and offers her to be friends, but instead of answering, the girl fires a whole magazine into his chest. Most of the audience is delighted, although there are those who are very disappointed. But Richter is especially excited. He sends two squads, one to remove Miles's body and the other to get rid of Nix. Richter also plans to eliminate Nova. He doesn't want any more witnesses. A group of masked men load Miles's body into a bag and take it to Richter's base. While they are chatting, the bag comes to life and fires several bullets at them. We see that the protagonist is alive and doesn't even seem to be injured. He runs through an abandoned industrial zone and meets Nix. She laughingly looks at his bulletproof vest. We find out what really happened the last time Miles and Nix met. As soon as she showed up, the guy immediately showed her her father's body and revealed the whole truth about Richter and all his crimes. Then Nix agreed to take revenge on the villain together. They took the vest off of Nix's father and put it on Miles to act out the scene of his death and get to Richter's base. After meeting, they immediately eliminate all of Richter's bandits. The main characters work well together. Without much difficulty, Miles and Nix make their way to Richter's hideout, but the main villain manages to escape. Miles sees that Skims is about to become a worldwide survival game. At this time, they are attacked by a woman with a pair of machine guns, and Miles is saved again by his body armor. Another villain knocks Nix down and cuts off several of her fingers during the fight. It looks like the protagonists have no chance of survival, but no, it seems that Nix gets a second wind and skillfully wields a hammer, as well as Miles managing to get rid of his opponent. He runs to help Nix, and again misses a shot, which causes a huge explosion. Fortunately, the protagonists survive again, but a crowd of enemies attacks them. Miles runs out of ammo. Nix is seriously wounded. Meanwhile, Richter grabs Nova, gets out on the roof, and waits for the helicopter. On the way, he gets rid of a corrupt cop, and Nova takes advantage of the moment to draw an arrow on the wall and write the word roof on it to give Miles a chance to find her. Realizing that there are too many enemies, Nix attaches explosives to herself and heads towards them. She runs and rains bullets on her rivals, and when she reaches the criminals, she activates the explosives, sending both herself and all the enemies to the afterlife. Hobbling, Miles stands up and notices the inscription left by Nova. He catches up with his girlfriend and Richter on the rooftop. The guy asks the villain to let Nova go. He responds by thanking the guy for making Skims super popular and turning from a victim to a predator. Miles fires a bullet at the villain and misses, and that was his last bullet. In response, Richter also shoots and wounds the protagonist, but the furious Miles rises on his feet and moves towards the enemy. Nova joins in and kicks her kidnapper pretty hard. A hand-to-hand fight ensues between Miles and Richter. The main character wins and throws the villain off the roof. The wounded guy lies there moaning. However, Nova doesn't rush to save him, but crawls away in terror. terror. After what she has seen, she no longer wants to be his girlfriend. Some time passes. Miles got rid of the guns attached to his hands, but he still has scars. Nova creates a colorful comic book about him, and the guy agrees to be a superhero. He begins the hunt for the other organizers of Skims. Now he'll take down anyone who makes people play such a violent game. Indeed, Harry Potter isn't the same anymore. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out any new recaps. This was the Movie Cat. I'll see you later.